What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the Butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as I cannot tell you how much they really do help. And also, just a huge thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. It really does mean the world to me, so thank you so much for doing you. You are amazing. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Now, our first story does have an update attached to it. So, am I the arsehole for leaving 2 days early because Santa didn't bring me or my future son anything like he did for everyone else in my family? Okay, I'm 90% sure that I am, but I've let it sit for a day and I'm still hurt, so I need some outside perspective. Before we get into this, I'm very aware that many people in the world get nothing at all for Christmas. I actually spend weeks leading up to Christmas volunteering, virtually this year, for the Battered Women's Shelter and foster care organisation. Prior to this Christmas, we quarantined for weeks and we all got tested. We're one of those families that doesn't go into stores, hooray, curbside, or eat out, and we are all fortunate enough to work from home or be retired. Now, my mum does all the shopping for Christmas, full stop. She asked what I wanted, and because I'm pregnant, I just asked for stuff for the baby, especially since I won't be able to have a baby shower. She said, fine, I'll get that stuff, but what about you and your husband? Well, we really didn't want for much, so I threw together 3 ideas for each of us, but told her to please shop for baby. I also gave them a link to a registry with over 40 small items selected, so they weren't on their own. Meanwhile, I got them what they asked for. My dad a Fire Stick TV and contributed to his Oculus. My mum jewellery from Pandora and a hand-blown glass cup she wanted. My brother 24 male, who still lives with them, a case for the iPad. They got him and $100. My parents still do Santa, the whole bit, the cookies, the milk, the presents that magically show up. It's their choice, we don't ask for it, but we play along because it makes them happy. We come downstairs yesterday morning and everyone else has gifts from Santa. We do not. My dad just slips us a note saying Santa is done for us, so we sit there awkwardly while my mum, dad and brother open up their gifts from Santa. They struggled to find gifts for me at all. They found plenty for my husband, gardening stuff he wanted, but the only real gift they gave me were a pair of Adidas shoes I didn't ask for, a perfume I don't wear, and a ramen I like. That's fine. All I wanted all along were things for the baby, who they've known for weeks will be a boy. They gave us 3 onesies and an ugly nursing pillow. Icing on the cake was my older brother 40 male and his family have a whole sack of presents to be sent to them, just for him. We're talking power tools, drill sets, brand name clothes and shoes just for him, not to mention wife and kids. Here's what might make me an arsehole. Not wanting to spoil everyone's fun by sulking, I chose to return 2 days earlier than planned. My husband is trying to be understanding but said I might be the arsehole for expecting anything at all and for leaving so unexpectedly. In fact, the entire family made passive-aggressive comments the entire day, but I ignored them all. The only reason I felt bad was for my dad, because he seemed truly hurt. It feels as if it was just me and my future son who was neglected, so I left. Am I the arsehole? This is a tough one because I look at this and I see the amount of presents being given to each other and don't hate me for this, but a part of me thinks, is this what Christmas is all about now? And I hate it. You know, every year we're giving so many gifts and money to each other, and it's just, to me, it's just lost it. I really don't like Christmas very much anymore, and that sounds really sad, I know. But this is a me problem, so don't jump on my back. I'm not judging these people based on that. I just find it so sad. But I think at the same time in this situation, you've done the adult thing. You know, you took yourself out of a situation where you was not happy, you didn't feel valued in that situation, so you took yourself away from it. And I think that's, you know, the right thing to do. You didn't kick up a fuss, you didn't call people out, you just said, no, I'm not being here, I don't feel valued, I'm out. Simple as. And I think that's a fair thing to do in that situation. But PD Watt says not the arsehole. Instead of throwing a temper tantrum, you went back home where you'd be free to explore your feelings. I wonder if the shoes/perfume were re-gifts if they fall so far out of your personality. I would collect your thoughts and call your dad to ask why Santa was done for you and their future grandson. Ask if you offended them in some way, and next year, perhaps all the years after that, spend Christmas with the in-laws. And Kitsune Cat says not the arsehole. Let's be honest here, you were an afterthought. When you didn't jump for joy and left, they were mad. Now next year, you can just skip the Christmas with them and go celebrate with the in-laws. And Valerian Spiel says, not the arsehole, ramen is not a Christmas present. I suspect you are the family scapegoat, OP. And Finn617 says, info, I really don't understand the bit about the Santa is done for us note. And OP replies saying, it's a note his mother wrote him that basically reads that now you've graduated and are an adult, you are responsible for Santa. When my dad saw I looked taken back when they said I would have nothing from Santa on Christmas morning, he went to his memorabilia box and gave me that note. Sorry for the confusion. Now we're going to head on to the update, and let's please hope it's a wholesome one. Update, am I the arsehole for leaving 2 days early because Santa didn't bring me or my future son anything like he did for everyone else in my family? First off, thank you all so much. Your responses were really overwhelming, as were the awards. Really, truly, thank you. Having someone understand, let alone so many, really helped me take a massive step forward. One of the commenters suggested actually taking a 23andMe test and seeing if I matched my parents. I'd done so 2 years ago and posted about it on this account because I was struggling with the revelation that my dad is not my bio dad and how it maybe impacted how I grew up. I forgot to consider this until I read this comment. My mum knows. My dad either doesn't or doesn't want me to know. Either way, I'm not going to give my mother the ammo to hurt me with by broaching this topic with them. I know that's what she'll do. I know my mother didn't love me as a child because she called me up a couple of years ago and let slip, I wish I had loved you when you were a child. Not, I wish I had loved you more or anything like that. Just point blank, I didn't love you. It's just, none of this made itself known during Christmas. Ever. I was shocked. I've spoken with both parents and my dad was beyond apologetic. He said that the note was really something he treasured as a symbol of leading his own house. He said that was very poorly timed and that he whipped it out to cover the awkwardness. He was blindsided. He works and she's retired. He trusts her with the shopping. He tried to broach the topic with my mum before I talked to her and it did not go well. She became incredibly defensive to the point that he had to call me to tell me not to reach out to her until she called me herself. So I waited. She said she did get me another gift, some plates/bowls, and told me they were on the way. I thanked her. Other than that, she didn't acknowledge Christmas had happened or that there were any disparities. She knows that I know that what she did was wrong and she doesn't want to talk about it. Yes, I spoke with my husband. I laid it all out for him, and when he understood that this was much more than about a woman not getting enough gifts, he backed off his arsehole judgment. He admitted that he doesn't know what any of this is like, but that he's proud of how I handled myself given the circumstances and he will continue to support me. He said we also have a couple of options. We can cut off my entire side of the family altogether, but that it wouldn't be possible to just cut out my mum. I'm not ready to cut ties with my dad, so we went with option 2. We set up ground rules. We will under no circumstances give them any unsupervised time with a baby. We will not go visit them. We will not let them stay in our house. I will not call my mum. I will answer, but be short and sweet when I talk. Even if she decides to acknowledge the past and truly apologise, I will forgive but I won't forget. They will have a very insignificant role in my son's life. Now I turn it to you guys in this situation. How would you have handled it? How would you have felt initially if you was in OP situation when they was opening the presents and things like that? Obviously it's a lot more than that now. But how would you feel? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for correcting a man after he started lecturing me on a topic I am very knowledgeable on? I, 23 female, was at a gathering pre-COVID at someone's house. I was with some friends of mine along with a bunch of people I didn't know that well. I was just talking to some friends of mine about economics, which is my favourite topic. I studied it in college and I enjoy reading and keeping up to date with it. While I don't want to sound arrogant, it is something I spend a lot of time reading about, so naturally I know quite a bit about the area. Anyway, while we were having this discussion, this man, who I didn't really know, joined in and interrupted me while I was speaking. He started explaining things to me which just seemed really patronising. He didn't know that much, but it was as if he was presuming I couldn't possibly know more than him because I was a cute little lady. I was getting pretty annoyed, but I decided not to say anything because I didn't want to come across as aggressive or confrontational, so I stayed quiet. The guy continued talking and I noticed he said one thing that was completely wrong, like not even close to being right, so I corrected him on the mistake. Most people laughed when they realised how off he was, but he did not take it well and he looked pretty pissed at me. When the gathering was ending, he went up to me and confronted me about the incident. He was still quite angry and he accused me of being rude and trying to humiliate him in front of everyone. His friend backed him up and said I was being petty about correcting him in front of a group of people. But at the same time, I wasn't trying to embarrass him. I just pointed out something that clearly wasn't true, and besides, if he hadn't interrupted me and started lecturing me on something I know way more than him, it would never have happened. I'm usually pretty quiet and non-confrontational, but I just hate being talked down to, and he was pretty condescending. So even if it may have been unnecessary, I feel like it was acceptable considering how rude he was to me. I started to doubt myself a bit after his friend came up to me as well, but I don't know. What do you think? He just sounded like a know-it-all, and fair play to you for not taking that shit. If someone's going to try it and talk over you and be rude about it, you have absolutely the right to do it the same. I mean, as you said, through this whole thing, he sounded like he was being very condescending to you, so for you to call him out is absolutely the right thing to do, in my opinion, and screw what the friend says, right? But Cerebral Flatulence says, not the arsehole, this guy had a bad case of mansplaining. This guy showed no respect for the smartest person talking. You. Be smart always, don't dumb down your conversations ever, for anyone. Oh my goshness says, not the arsehole, don't let anyone mansplain to you. Ever. You did the right thing. Men like that have nothing but fragile egos and audacity. I'm glad you did what you did. Keep up the good work. And Set says, not the arsehole. In life there are intellectuals and then there are know-it-alls. One becomes indignant in being corrected, the other is delighted to have learned something new. It's important to navigate correcting another with appropriate graciousness, which it sounds like you did. Carry on. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. Have you guys ever done something similar like that before? Have you ever had to call someone out mid-conversation who's being condescending to you? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Elroy's. Am I the arsehole for abandoning my friend? 2 summers ago, I took a road trip with a bunch of friends to San Diego. I drove with my close friend, we'll call her Emily, while my other friends drove in a separate car. The plan was for me and Emily to stay one night, and everyone else would stay 2 nights. On my and Emily's last day, I was having a ton of fun, and I said to Emily, I wish I could stay another night. She responded, but then how will I get home? As bad as I wanted to stay a second night, I didn't want to abandon my friend. I joked, what if I buy you an Uber home? The Uber would have costed $200 and I did not have that kind of money. We both said that was a crazy idea. Back at our Airbnb, we were on the phone with our other friends on the trip. One of them suggested Emily take a train home, which would have costed $50, but Emily said that she'd never been alone before and was worried about what would happen. She lived a very sheltered life due to strict parents. It was a hard no from her. One of my friends got annoyed and exclaimed, oh come on! Emily blew up. She became extremely angry and began packing her things saying, whatever, it's fine, I just want to go home. Emily had anger issues, for your information. I tried to console her, telling her that I could drive her home and that I didn't care about staying another night. I just wanted her to get home safe. I begged her repeatedly to let me drive her home. She said this is what she wanted, and that she would feel guilty if she made me drive her home. I said, are you sure? Because you seem upset and I don't want you going home alone and upset. She insisted this is what she wanted and that she wasn't upset. Turns out the train got to her house too late at night, so she said fine, do your crazy idea, buy an Uber. I was taken back and said, that's $200 though. I was having financial issues at the time and she knew this. She said it was the only option that would make us both happy. After much more begging from me, I finally gave in because I believed it was what she wanted. She left in the Uber, which I paid for, and I stayed an extra night. The following week, Emily was extremely cold and short with me. I texted her and asked if she was okay. She responded with, yeah, I'm fine. I didn't believe her, so I sent her, are you sure? Because you've been acting weird all week. She responded with a huge paragraph saying that she was questioning our friendship, that true friends don't abandon each other, and that she was worried for her safety the entire ride back, and that a true friend would have known that what she really wanted was for me to drive her home, and to have done it despite what she was telling me at the time. I was so perplexed, and at first I felt extremely guilty and like a horrible friend, but after talking with some friends about it, they said I did nothing wrong. I ended up cutting Emily off. I'm worried my friends were just biased and that I ended a friendship prematurely. I still feel guilty about this. And Mama's Bear Apron says, everyone sucks here, the two of you had a plan. If she never travelled by herself before, the very thought of you wanting to stay longer and making her find her own way home might have been legitimately terrifying. Did she react well? Definitely not. You presented a few options and she demanded the worst of them. So there she was, possibly wanting to stay longer with everyone else but unable to, having to get home by herself. Having you try and bow out of your agreement and then grudgingly agree to honour it. She really didn't have a good option. For people unused to travel, the train, bus, Uber can be rather scary, and everyone else, I'm guessing, took your side. So she was there in a strange city with her original carefully crafted plan in tatters, unsure what to do and angry about it. She could have stayed calm and let you drive her home, which is why she's also the arsehole, but you hung her out to dry. And the note to Cocktail says, sorry, you're the arsehole. If you had this plan to go home and come together, then that's what you should have done. She'd never been alone before and she was probably freaked out. And the rest of your friends brainstorming how you could get her home probably came off like you were all trying to get rid of her in the least problematic way possible. I can understand why she refused you after that. You let her down and went back on your word. It probably destroyed whatever trust you two had. And Water Disastrous says, everyone sucks here. Emily for her poor communication, expecting you to know she needed you to drive her home, and you for really not thinking about your choice would affect her. I know you were having fun, and I would find it hard not to stay where the fun is, but you kind of changed your plans last minute and left her stuck with no transport home. You put your friend in a difficult position of having to poop your party in order to feel safe. Emily should have been clear what she wanted, but maybe felt like she couldn't ask for it in context. Her reaction after was shitty though. Everyone sucks here. Now I'm going to turn this to you guys. How would you act in that situation from both sides? If you was OP, would you pay for your friend to go home? Would you come up with those suggestions, or would you go with your agreement initially and drive her home? And what about from this girl, from Emily's point of view, that she's not used to traveling and she's probably a bit scared at that moment? How would you feel? Let us know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Sweeper 1985. Am I the arsehole for asking my partner not to travel too far while I'm in late pregnancy? I am 35 female and am currently pregnant with my first child. Partner 32 male wants to arrange a trip 2 to 3 days and nights in about a month's time to go with his father to a town 3 hours away so they can sit their motorcycle license course together. At that stage I would be about 33 weeks pregnant. I'm considered high risk for medical reasons and have no family nearby, closest is 90 minutes away. I'm not opposed to him doing the course or taking a trip with his father, as I know they want to spend time together. But I was concerned about the distance and asked if they could do the course somewhere closer, because I'm worried that if something went wrong, e.g. early labour or complications, my partner would not be able to get back and I'd have no support, especially since he and his father like to drink together, so possibly couldn't drive back if they had to. There are other places much closer where they could do the course, including only 30 minutes away, but they would have to wait a few weeks or maybe a couple of months. Yes, that would bring us closer to the due date, or even be after the baby was born, but I wouldn't have to worry about him being stranded elsewhere if I went into labour. When I asked if he could find an alternative, my partner dismissed my concerns. He said I was trying to control him and that the baby wasn't due for another month or more. He basically said I was being crazy and he should be free to go away if he wants to. I told him I don't think that's very supportive or understanding, and his response basically was that it's not a problem, or at least not his problem. Am I the arsehole? I think even if you didn't offer options in this story, you still wouldn't be the arsehole. But you did offer options too. You offered, you can still go away and spend that time. Can you just do it a bit closer though, please? Just so I can get in contact with you, just so you can be there if I do go into labour, which is totally valid in my opinion. I don't think it's controlling behaviour at all, especially when you're giving those options too. And hopefully it doesn't happen, but imagine if this person did go into labour and the partner was away after this discussion. How shit would they feel? Well, let's hope he would at least feel bad, right? But who knows? I'd feel absolutely terrible to abandon a partner who would probably be in a very terrifying situation, and painful one at that, I imagine. But Hazira says, not the arsehole, just because he's not the one physically carrying your baby doesn't mean that he isn't just as responsible for helping support your baby coming into the world. He needs to get his priorities straight. The fact that he has not only dismissed your concerns, but has also low-key gaslit you into believing that you're the bad guy in the situation is very concerning. And that's not even going into his opinion that apparently the birth of his child is not his problem. I genuinely hope he turns around and becomes more supportive and understanding soon, because otherwise I fear that you may be in for a tough time once this child comes. And Ange says, not the arsehole, you even tried to compromise and he's not willing to try and see your point of view. I find it troubling he is more worried about you controlling him than you and your baby's well-being. Pregnancy can be really frightening, especially if you're alone with no relatives nearby. Your partner is definitely the arsehole. And the Mirror's truth says not the arsehole. Good luck with a baby. Husband doesn't sound like he'd be much support to you or your baby. And finally, Howard Project says not the arsehole. Your partner is prioritizing fun with his dad over the health and welfare of his partner and his child. You are a high-risk pregnancy. This often means preterm labor and other early complications. Does he expect you to drive yourself to the hospital? This doesn't bode well for his readiness for parenthood. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of the situation and how would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you have enjoyed today's stories. And if you have, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And just a huge thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. It really does mean the world. Time is so important. I know this myself. So for you to spend time here with me, listen to a story or two, means the absolute world. So thank you so much. And see you soon. Much love.